So I'd like you to take a look at the total length of this video. Not exactly impressive. In fact, it's kind of short compared to, at least the other parts of this series so far, right? Well, somehow this video not only took longer to make than all the others, but also only covers a single character. Viewers, welcome to the Villager segment. Jesus. Okay. I've been dreading this one because, you see, I discovered over the course of putting these videos together that for each additional random implement a character possesses, they end up taking exponentially more time to research. I need to look into every single object on their person and put that into context of how it's obtained within their respective universe before I can justifiably claim that they're vegan. Villager has, count them with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and get this, not 15, but technically, we'll talk about this in a minute, but it's a lot. So, let's break these first 14 down. None of these right here, none of them are a problem. They're all fairly unambiguously made from non-animal based components. Like, the little weirdo is even fighting with a vegetable as a weapon, and it's a decent move. That's pretty based. However, it's these, right here, where we do get ambiguous. Allow me to elaborate. Boxing gloves, commonly made from leather. Fireworks, which are occasionally manufactured with stearic acid, derived from animal fat, used to coat the metallic powders contained within. Lloyd, we'll get back to Lloyd in a bit. The slingshot, maybe leather or something on this bit here, I don't know. Balloons, while most often made from latex, which is vegan, aren't quite in the clear because this particular variety is typically dipped latex, which is made using a small amount of the milk protein casein, which is not vegan. In the case of these, we hit the same frustrating wall that we collide with through pretty much every other franchise. We don't know exactly how items are manufactured in their universe. Now, I have a suspicion that you may be thinking, poor dunce, why is this even a question? Animal Crossing is literally a game about living a conflict-free existence in a small town of anthropomorphized animal friends. Do you seriously think that these charming little ducks and kawaii horses are out there killing other animals for resources? If you ask me that, I would say yes, 100%. I unironically think that. Allow me to explain. Viewers, I present to you Frog. Shit, no, not that. Let's try again, sorry. Frog.
Froggy?
No, that's... Okay, one more. Frog. Finally. In every single mainline game of the Animal Crossing franchise, the player has the ability to catch a frog with their fishing rod. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, frogs, turtles, and hell, even fucking octopi exist, both as these fish as well as in their anthropomorphized villager versions. These fish are commoditized, exploited, and even consumed without anyone so much as batting a fucking eye. Plus, you've also got caged birds, caged hamsters, cow skulls. I'm sure the list goes on, but the point I'm trying to get at here is that within this franchise, there's both a clear distinction between animals and animals, as well as a blatant and unquestioned culture of exploitation directed towards these lesser animals.
Help me!
And there's really no argument that makes this exploitation okay. I mean, animals as lowly as a cockroach have, get this, visible souls. Now, this doesn't confirm anything, but it does, at the very minimum, allow me to confidently place Villager into the questionable tier. I'd personally say that we even venture into the definitely non-vegan tier due to this specific victory screen, where Villager catches a beetle. But I brought this one up to some people and got pushback. They argued that we don't technically know what Villager's doing with the bug. You could come up with a ton of excuses, but let's be real here for a minute. You and I both know that Villager is about 3 seconds away from booking it over to Nooks to sell this big guy. It's whatever though, I'll just jot that down as questionable as well. Next up is Lloyd, who... So I said we'd circle back to Lloyd, but man, God, okay. Anything I say here is going to be needlessly speculative. Well, I mean, I guess that's the premise of the channel in general, but even more so specifically in this case. Lloyd is a gyroid, which are very enigmatic entities within the Animal Crossing universe. They vary wildly throughout the games in appearance, origin, and capability. They're basically just little dancing pieces of furniture for the most part. Some make clanging sounds, some beep, some scream in agony. Lloyd is specifically named, however, and is capable of conversation. So, could the Lloyd, or maybe even Lloyds, based on this whole exploding aspect, be a sentient creature we're using as a weapon? Could it be an infinitely responding and willing ally? Maybe this is just a rocket with a Lloyd-shaped shell around it. Maybe Lloyd is into being abused. I'm not gonna kink shame. Point is, we just don't know. And that sounds pretty questionable tier to me. Now, hearing me spend all this time prattling on just to land it, oh, I guess everything is questionable, is probably kind of frustrating. And originally, this was the point in the video where I had planned to be like, but wait, and bring out what I thought would be the most damning evidence. Villagers' neutral special, Pocket, grants them the ability to capture and subsequently utilize a plethora of projectiles. If I had any modicum of self-respect or sense of value over how I spend my time, what you'd be seeing right now would be just a couple clips to illustrate this move in action, and not a methodically cataloged, cut, looped, and edited list of every possible pocketable object in the game. All for what amounts to, what, like 20 seconds of footage? I fucking hate myself. This is such a waste of time. So, there's gotta be a handful of non-vegan things in here, right? That's what I was assuming, at least. I mean, we already know these arrows have feathers, which makes them non-vegan, so if Villager can use their neutral special to pocket and retaliate with a non-vegan attack, that would make Villager non-vegan, right? Well, this feels like the correct moment to admit that I've unironically had a crisis of conscience while working on this channel lately. This particular video, which was initially intended to cover all the characters introduced in Smash 4, as well as another fun video I've been working on in the background for a while, have both been stuck in development hell because I continually hit a brick wall while attempting to cogently justify whether or not certain abstract outlier scenarios, like this, could be considered vegan. There are just so many esoteric and complex situations involving the pocket ability that I struggled to classify them when throwing this massive display together. I mean, veganism is a little more black and white in real life, you know? The amount of thought I normally have to put into this is just checking whether or not prepackaged food contains milk powder, not whether or not I can ethically justify catching a possibly sentient ball of spikes when they're thrown at me by Tony Soprano's persona. Like, seriously, let's break a few of these down. Is pocketing and throwing one of these arrows back at Link non-vegan? Feathers aren't vegan, so it seems like, yeah, that's pretty cut and dry. But then what about reflectors? I'd argue that the pocket ability is just kind of a reflector with extra steps, right? So does that make any character with a reflector potentially non-vegan? Another situation, say you're facing off against Olimar's Villager. If he's over there just plucking Pikmin up and chucking them at you, would it be necessarily non-vegan to pocket them? Doing so would prevent the little guys from being further exploited as a weapon, which seems fine, but then if you pull the Pikmin back out, they just immediately die regardless of your intent. The whole situation turns into some incredibly tedious trolley problem where you're either arguing that imprisoning the Pikmin in a purgatory-like state is preferential, or that it's better for them to continue suffering through your own inaction. Which one of these is ethically justifiable? How do I break these stupid video games down into moral frameworks? Am I overthinking things? How many layers of irony am I even on right now? Actually, no, wait, I'm not even done with the arrow thing yet. Even if we take the pocket ability and all reflectors out of the equation, you don't even need a special ability to pick up arrows in the first place. Does that immediately make all characters potentially non-vegan? I'm starting to feel like some matchups just totally invalidate the unrestricted play category, and that's the main purpose of the entire tier list. Like, am I claiming that no character is truly vegan because you can possibly have the opportunity to pick up an arrow? I couldn't come up with a one-size-fits-all answer that meshed with my real-world thought processes. The internal struggle literally got so bad that I spent like a whole month trying to break down and distill the logic undergirding my own veganism. I took to the internet and asked for literary recommendations on philosophy and ethics. I've read more in the past few weeks than I think that I have through literally the rest of my entire adult life, and that is... God, that is such a fucking lame reason. I've taken this way too seriously. But yeah, even with all of that, while I definitely feel like I could more confidently articulate my reasoning for being a vegan, it still feels like the shoddy logic keeping this tier list consistent is unraveling by the minute. As a result, and you can tell me that this is a cop-out, but it's for the sanity of the tier list and myself, I'm instating another rule that applies retroactively. Rule number 6, placement in this tier list will not be determined by factors dependent on character-specific matchups. If I didn't do this, then literally every character is immediately moved to the definitely non-vegan tier. And that's neither fun or indicative of how veganism actually works. Anyone has the potential to be vegan, it just takes some active effort to actually be one. Now, admittedly, this means everybody has to abide by an honor system during those sorts of matchups. I don't want to see you all out there claiming to be playing this way and then catch you chowing down on bike seats just because you think you can get away with it. So, what does this ruling mean for Villager? Well, the pocket ability is now only being measured by its own merits, and not based on any specific interaction. You can do non-vegan stuff with it, but because the move itself isn't inherently non-vegan, it won't count against Villager's tiering. This ruling also means that I need to go back through and re-tier a character. So, I would like to proudly announce that King DDD has been moved from the totally non-vegan tier to the questionable tier, which, I don't know, not great, but all that's holding him back now is Gordo and whatever his coat might be made of. In the end, however, Villager sneaks their big head into the questionable tier for unrestricted play, but they also find a spot within the totally vegan tier if you just absolutely don't touch huge portions of their moveset. Normally in this series, I'd fade to black and we'd go to a little outro, but yeah, we're just gonna roll the credits here and let you all know that I'm hopefully working a lot more diligently on these videos for a bit. Sorry about the cringe downer ending in the last one. I was feeling sorry for myself and killed the vibes. My bad. Also, I have moved and my new setup is much more conducive to streaming outside of the recording space, still trying to figure that out. But now I'm gonna have to blame the lack of desire to actually do it on crippling social anxiety. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Please comment, please share the content around. Probably a different video first, this one's a bit much. Thanks for watching.